What is up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at two of the most underrated champions in the entire game. And obviously this is my opinion, but these are incredibly strong, like ridiculously strong. They aren't really picked, they're not really banned, and no one is really playing them right now. Right, so first up is Akali, and Akali really comes down to how much damage she can dish out. She's probably one of the best assassins right now just because of how much raw damage she has. She can dominate her lane after level 6. Admittedly, she kind of struggles before, but once she gets her ultimate, she can do some serious damage. She has absolutely insane damage late game, and you'll see a lot of that in these clips that are rolling through, how quickly she actually deletes someone. Her spell vamp is something that a lot of people don't think about, but is actually really good because she does so much damage. Like, the percent that you get back actually amounts to quite a lot, and it makes her really hard to kill when you're in a 1v1 situation, especially without ignite. She does have her shroud to escape and trade, which is going to help more in lane than it will in team fights, but she can come back in games with very few kills. Like, she only needs a couple of items to do a lot of damage. This is one of the biggest things with Akali is, yes, her lane phase is not that great, and yes, you can get behind, but you only need a few kills to come back and actually snowball the game. So she can't all be good, right? There must be things that are keeping her down, otherwise everyone would spam her all the time. And the biggest thing is, yeah, she's weak pre-6. Her lane phase is not that good, and she can get bullied out, especially if you play her mid lane, which is why I'd recommend taking her top lane. She's very weak to crowd control, not only because it locks her down and lets people kill you, but it stops you doing your damage. Like, you can dive in, but you have to be very close to someone to kill them. The final thing is that there are upgraded sweepers and pinks, right? That ruins your stealth mechanic completely. The reason I don't think this is actually that big of a deal is because her highest win rate is in Diamond Elo, okay? And in Diamond, people actually buy pinks, they buy sweepers against her. So if people are buying these things and are countering her stealth, but she still has a really high win rate, then it's obviously not really making much of a difference. So you can see my recommended build on screen, and this is the order I get it in as well, but there are things you can swap out. Like, if you want more of a tanky build, then you can go for something like a Rylai's. If you're getting focused, you can go for a GA. She's actually pretty versatile in how you build her. The big things to remember when you're playing Akali is, don't worry if you have to get behind a little bit early, don't worry if your farm struggles, because you will come back mid game anyway. When you're playing against her, you need to realize that after level 6 she is really strong, so you need to dominate her pre-6. You need to kill her over and over and hope you can keep her down. So let's just take the next logical step, right? We've already established that you like playing with your dongers in champion select and the loading screen, so why don't we just play the donger himself and play some Heimerdinger? Heimer is one of these champions where people think you're trolling when you pick him, but he's actually incredibly strong right now. He has a really good lane phase and an amazing team fight. Part of his lane phase, why it's so good, is because you really can't ever be ganked with your turrets. Like, your turrets set up a zone of control, and if anyone ever comes near them, then you have 3 things beating on you, plus Heimer and your abilities, and you're almost guaranteed to win that 1v2. The turrets also give you wave clear, they give you pressure, so the enemy mid laner can't stop you farming, and he kind of just has to sit under his turret like a little pussy. He also has a slow and a stun in his kit, which is really useful, but the biggest thing is kind of just the huge amount of damage that he actually manages to output. His rockets late game do a crazy amount of damage, his big ass turret does a crazy amount of damage, even his grenade does quite a lot of damage. When we're looking at mid laners, right, you want to have a good lane phase, you want to farm well, you want to get your items, and then be able to carry your team mid game. That is exactly what Heimerdinger does, and his win rate shows just how good of a mid laner he is right now. So Heimer has some pretty big weaknesses, and the biggest one is that he is immobile, and if you ever get caught, you are screwed. Like, he just waddles around, you know, he has his little swag walk where he kind of walks like he's got something stuck up his ass. Well, if you're wandering around like that and you get caught, then you are just dead. Like, there's nothing you can do. Ideally as well, with the turret mechanic, like putting them down and setting them up before a fight, you want them to come to you, but that's not always going to happen. And when you're ahead, you want to be pushing your advantage, you want to be going to them, and that's not exactly when Heimer thrives. The final thing is that his damage is skill shot based, okay? Well, apart from his big ass turret that he just puts down and does everything for him, I guess. But if you want to use your rockets, you want to use your grenade, yes, he has a lot of damage with them, and yes, he can stun people, but if you miss your rockets and your grenade, then you don't stun anyone, and you don't do any damage. So you can see this is the build I recommend on screen, and the big thing to note here is that if they have a very, very dive heavy team, then you want to be getting a Zhonya's as soon as possible, because they dive onto you, you put your tower down, you then Zhonya's, and you're doing damage while you're surviving. So that wraps up the two most underrated champions in the game right now, and obviously these two are my opinion, but I definitely think they're both so strong right now. I also love seeing when this stuff works for you and when you test it, so if you do play it, then take a screenshot of the end of the game, tweet it to me so I can have a look. That's all for this time though, so I'll catch you in my next video.